What's happening, everybody? I realize it's been a while. Um, yeah, for those of you guys who haven't seen my announcement on either the YouTube community page or my Discord, um, I had a couple of relatives pass away, kind of like one right after the other. My one uncle on one side of the family and the mother of one of my aunts uh, passed away on the opposite side of the family, like within days of each other. So we've been dealing with funerals and funeral arrangements and stuff like that. It doesn't look like I'm gonna be. I thought I was gonna be traveling for my uncle's funeral, which is or memorial service, which is but he's on the other side of the country, so I don't think we're actually going to be traveling for that. I think we're probably going to end up just doing something over the internet, like have like like getting everybody called in essentially via Skype or something like that. Um, but we'll see. I still don't know for sure. There, the other my aunt's mother, um, she we're doing a funeral in a couple of weeks on the 15th. So, um, that was going to be the weekend I was going to do the editing for the Unicorn review. So I think what I'll do is I'll bring that forward a week. So, um, I'll do I'll likely end up doing most of the editing for the Unicorn review this coming weekend. Um, and I'm kind of the guy who likes to do the editing all at once, so the likelihood is there's no promises, but the likelihood is that the Unicorn review will be coming out sometime next week. Um, let's see here. Just trying to think, are there any other announcements? Oh yeah, as far as stream schedules are concerned, I'm not sure yet. Like, thing is, I don't want to establish a stream schedule and then have it like disappear because of real life events. Mainly because I have been offered a position at a pistol range in the area, and so in combination with my current job as a tutor, which I'll be going to later this afternoon, in a few hours, in about 4 hours or so. In combination with that and the firing line, like the pistol range, I'm not sure what my schedule is going to look like. I have been told that I'm going to be called by the general manager of the pistol range, but he's been really busy lately, so I don't know when I'll actually get a call for like an interview or something, but it's likely that I'll end up getting the job. And so I'll probably end up working two jobs for a while, just because I'm trying to bank some money for when I go back to physical school. Like right now I'm taking a couple of online classes, but they're really really easy, so they don't take up much of my time. So if I start working two jobs, I don't know how my schedule is going to shake out as far as streaming and content creation goes, but we'll see. As far as War Thunder goes, I've been pretty much taking a break for 2 weeks. Obviously, I've kept up on it. I know that there was a lot of BR changes that went into effect, and a few of them I'm not very happy about. It kind of sucks that this thing went up to 7.3, but I kind of understand why. There are some others that I don't understand, like why the hell the T25 went up to 6.0 when the N36 is 5.7, but whatever. I know a lot of the American like tier 3s, like 5.3 vehicles went up to 5.7. The T29 my beloved T29 went up to 7.0, which I'm very sad about. It's not the worst thing. It's not the worst thing ever. Like, at least I still have the T30 and the T34, but it's a little annoying that the T29 is a 7.0 now. Because I don't have, like, you don't have, like, the perfect lineup here. If anything, though, this actually gives a reason for the M26E1 to exist again. That's about the one good thing about this change. It now gives people a reason to buy this vehicle over a T29. Because with the T29, you're facing higher battle ratings, so you're going to face much stronger opponents in a T29 than you will in an M26E1. The German M48 going down to 7.0, I don't really understand, especially when the American M48 is still a 7.3. I think this is a classic case of allowing your algorithms to do the balancing for you, rather than actually having people who put in the effort and understand the game meta to do the balancing for you. The Leopard A1A1 and like the AMX, like a lot of the tier 6 premiums going up to 9.0, that's kind of to be expected. They probably should have been bumped up to 9.0 a long time ago. I still don't think that they should be bumped up to 9.3. But 9.0 I can more understand. I can better understand them being at this battle rating than at 8.7. 8.7 was a little bit low. Mainly because they would shit on 7.7s all the time. If anything, this helps give the mouse a new lease on life, if you happen to have it. It gives a lot of the 7.7s actually a new lease on life. It's still not going to be perfect. There's still going to be some 8.7, 8.3 games here and there where you're going to face vehicles that will utterly wreck you, but it means that a lot of the 7.7 vehicles are a lot stronger than they used to be. So there's a sort of indirect buff to all the 7.7s, because the most of the 9.0 premiums that were at 8.7, like the Leopard A1A1 is probably the most popular 9.0 premium. I think at 9.0 it'll do okay. I think at 9.0 it'll be pretty well balanced. Like, it'll be extremely strong when down tiered, but not broken OP, and and it'll be pretty average when up tiered, which is, I in my personal opinion, that's how most premiums should be, especially ones that are so high up. I don't think that premium vehicles should give an outright advantage over the tech tree variants of them. In this case, it did, because the A1A1 had thermal sights, whereas the standard A1A1 does not. I think this is a good change. It's annoying for those who play them, but I think it's a good change. And I think the T55 AM1 staying at 8.7 is okay. It's not a bad vehicle by any means, but it's nowhere near as good as an A1A1. The only thing the AM1 has over the A1A1 is that it can fire missiles. Outside of that, the armor really doesn't make much of a difference. And the mobility is distinctly average. Excuse me. The shot cal still being at 8.3, I think, is fine. The whole, like, bumping of the Cent Mark 10, the Vickers, and the Conqueror to 7.7. Okay. That makes sense. Excuse me. Many throat clearings array. I know there's a lot of people who still think that the Cent Mark 3 and the Carnarvon should go up to 7.0. And they could. They potentially could. The issue then becomes, what do you have at this tier?
German support.
Okay, thanks for the $10, man. Appreciate it. Really do. Um, yeah, moving like all of this, like all of the British medium or heavy tanks at 6.7 up to 7.0, except for maybe the FV, isn't terrible. Mania, thanks for the 16 months. Clears throat. Yeah. There we go. If anything, I believe that the AVRE should probably go down to 6.7. I know that's going to sound like really dumb on the surface, but if you think about how specialized this vehicle is, I don't see any reason why it can't be a 6.7 and be a little bit lower. Like, it's not like it's still got the Centurion Mark III's hull armor, and it's just better protected against heat shells, but its range is pretty limited in most situations. Yes, you can snipe with it, and it's really funny when it happens, but a vast majority of people playing this vehicle are not sniping with it. They're driving right up to people's faces and shooting them. So, I think this could have been a 6.7. MX-13 FL11 isn't bad. Oh, it's fine. I think the FL11 is actually very good. Yeah, 3.3, like, this thing is a better Chaffee, essentially. About the only thing that it lacks over the Chaffee is the stabilizer, and that's it. Which, admittedly, is a big advantage on the Chaffee, because it can fire on a short hold. But yeah, I like this vehicle. Like, there's nothing terrible about it. Right, again, and it's like, especially if you were to bump up the 6.7s to 7.0, I think it would also give a reason to own the AVRE. Because the AVRE is basically a meme vehicle right now. Don't get me wrong, you can grind with it, but you're having to put a lot more effort into a vehicle like this than you are with an STRV-81 or a Centurion Action X. So, oh yeah, the Sav went up to 3.7. I think what we'll do is we'll play a few games in the Sav just to see how well how it's taken the change. I know the KVs went down. The KVs went down to like 4.0, all of them, including the KV2s. I'm not sure how I feel about that, not because I don't like the change necessarily, just because I don't know how that will change everything at low tiers. I'm not as caught up in the low tier meta as a lot of people are. I mean, cool. You're not as likely to face 5.3s, that's great. Or you're not as likely to face Tigers with KV2s, but I know a lot of people really liked memeing on Tigers. Well, thanks for the 2 months, man. Germany suffers, indeed. Yeah, I don't get it either, Tasty Toast. The AVRE is really in an awkward position, being pretty much the only 7.0 outside of the Conway. I know a lot of people really don't like the Conway. I actually think it's quite hilarious. Just because it's this thing is derpy as hell. It really is. It's not a competitive tank, it's derpy, but you're driving around at 7.0 with a 7.7 gun. And really the only thing that hurts you a crap ton with this vehicle is the really tall profile, the kind of terrible gun depression, and the long reload. Outside of that, like, this thing is a solid 7.0. And it's even got a stabilizer on it, which I don't understand how. Technically speaking, the Conqueror shouldn't actually have a stabilizer either. The gun just had an automatic travel lock system that would take control of the gun away from the gunner while you were driving around, so that the gun wasn't trying to fight, like, this 2-ton gun wasn't trying to fight the recoil system while you were driving around. But when you see photos of it driving, it looks like it has a stabilized gun because the gun is just kind of staying in place. In reality, it's kind of just bouncing around on the interior of the vehicle. You just can't really see. And the gunner has horizontal traverse, but he doesn't have any any lay control of the gun, and I think he has to wait like 3 or 4 seconds when he comes to a stop before the gun will give him control again. So, yeah, the Conqueror should not have a stabilizer. Anabark, I think it's 17 months. 17 months. Yeah, the American Tier 3 lineup, I was discussing that a little bit earlier. It's now a 5.7. Like, this is now pretty much a 5.7 lineup. And honestly, most people were using it as a 5.7 lineup anyways, I think, if they were running the T25 or the M36. So I don't think this really changes much. And the M18 probably should have been a 5.7 for quite some time. So should have been the M4A3. I think it's more than capable of being a 5.7. Yeah, you can face King Tigers now, but they did in World War II, and they didn't seem to have much in the way of issues. So I think if anything, it just forces you to play smarter. Because this is kind of being at 5.3. This tank was kind of easy mode. As were a lot of the Shermans. So yeah, I'm not exactly opposed to this thing going up to 5.7. Yeah, it was easy 8 mode. T25 going up in battle rating. I could see why they did it, but I don't like it. If anything, this vehicle probably should have stayed at 5.7, and the M26 should have gone down, in my personal opinion. But hell, the algorithms are always right, aren't they, boys? Honestly, what I think, what Gaijin needs to do is they need to have somebody dedicated to balancing the game. Or several people dedicated to balancing the game. And focusing on different aspects.
More Maymays for the Maymay God.
Of course, Sky Jiggles is probably never going to do that because that cuts into their profits. Rad Gamers sub. Finally caught a stream, also my condolences, but yeah, them changes are nice as fucking odd. See how they work out. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there are some really strange changes here. Not that I'm necessarily opposed to it. They're outside of some strange ones. I'm not sure how I feel about the T25 going up to 6.0. Because honestly, I feel like 6.0 is like the death knell for 5.7 vehicles. Or vehicles that should be 5.7. Any vehicle that goes up to 6.0 is in this really terrible position where they usually get nothing but up tiers into 6.7. And they very rarely end up going down. It's weird. Anybody remember the T54 you won? No? Didn't think so. This is a vehicle I really wish was not, I really wish was a 7.7. I think at 7.7, this thing would sell like hotcakes. Because this is such an interesting and cool vehicle. I mean, it's pretty much an American AMX 50 with heat shells and APDS. It does have solid shot. Isn't actually that bad. Although it was better, I think, at one point before the Penpocalypse. It wasn't like the shells in this thing weren't the greatest. Like the solid shot shells were never the greatest, but they were okay. And if you could get penetrations into the side of enemy tanks or something like that, you could really fuck them up. But at 8.0, I still think this thing is way too high. Yeah, T26E5 at 6.3 would be pretty cool. A jumbo Pershing. Yeah, that would be pretty interesting. Although knowing Guy Jiggles, they'd probably introduce it as some premium. But yeah, the T-54E1 is one of those vehicles that gets just screwed over by its 8.0. Like 8.0 is another one of those death knell tiers. It's just like 6.0. It's gonna get pretty much nothing but up tiers, and it's like the worst possible vehicle to bring into an up tier. You're essentially taking 1950s technology against 80s and 90s technology, and it just doesn't work. Like, this vehicle just gets hammered in RB. In Simulator, it's actually pretty damn good, because it actually faces contemporary vehicles. But in top tier, like against like Leopards and against A1A1s and Type 74s and so on, it just gets screwed. How do I know which BR gets up tiers and down tiers? There was an like they put up an announcement. If somebody could find the link, I'd be happy to pull it up. As far as Death Gun, as far as aircraft goes, I don't know. I don't play aircraft anywhere near enough to make a judgment call. I just don't. I'm sorry. And I'm not gonna pretend to know what I'm talking about, because then it just amplifies the fact that you don't know what you're talking about. So from what I've heard, people are not happy because Guy Jiggles just basically compressed the jet BRs even more, from what I understand. Again, algorithms are the perfect way to balance your game. And no single person can balance this game entirely. I don't believe that. What I think Guy Jiggles should do is, rather than relying entirely on an algorithm that measures only statistical performance, what they should do is they should have an algorithm that measures how many people are actually playing a vehicle. And then try, if they have to use an algorithm, have it measure how many people are actually playing a vehicle. How many games are being played in them, and then what is the statistical analysis? Is that vehicle winning a lot of games? Not necessarily, but what is its KD ratio? I think that's something that Guy Jiggles just skips out on, or doesn't put enough priority in. A vehicle, like people could be dominating in a specific vehicle, but the win rates may not reflect that. Maybe the way the vehicle dominates just isn't conducive to winning games. Because I don't think win rates are by no means a perfect way to determine whether or not a vehicle is overpowered. For example, like the win rates of, say, Chieftains are fairly decent, but I think that's more a product of the fact that it's on the Allied team. Yes, that's what I was talking about. Thank you, Mania. Swap over here. One moment. Oh, desktop. Zoom in a little bit. Oh, that didn't help. Yeah, we won't go through all of this because this is kind of ridiculous, but... Oh yeah, the Lorraine. The Lorraine went up again. Go back here. The Lorraine 40T is now a 7.7. Does anybody remember the fact that this vehicle started as a 6.3 in this game? Yeah, and 25k... No. The minimum repair cost in this is like 19k, but 25k repair cost is still kind of insane. And here's the thing. If they keep bumping up the battle rating of the Lorraine 40T, it's actually going to get better. Because then you start pushing it into territory where tanks start losing armor, not gaining it. Because there's like that 7.7 to 9.0 area where tanks lose a lot of armor. And then after 9.0, the tanks start gaining armor again with composites. And so if they bump, I think what everybody should do in this next BR update is they should push for the rain to get pushed to 8.0. Just bump it up to 8.0 and be done with it, and then just watch how it just dominates. This thing is insane. All right, let's actually play something. Let's see here. They also nerfed the AP. When did they nerf the AP? Was it with the Penpocalypse update? I mean, yeah, it doesn't have the 290, but 270 is still more than respectable. Like, that's pretty damn good for a solid shot round, especially out of a 100 mil. That's pretty fucking good. The real problem is going to be the penetration against angles. 94 millimeters really is not a lot. That's like 188 effective pen. And frankly, if most vehicles that have sloped armor have a lot more than 188 millimeters of armor at this tier, or they have a lot less. It's one of those two. There's really no middle ground. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. We're gonna play the Sav a little bit to warm up, and because I kind of want to see how the 3.7 nerf affected it. 3.3 was kind of ridiculous, but I think Guy Jiggles was concerned that people weren't gonna buy it at 3.7 because of its penetration, and I think it wasn't until people actually started playing it at 3.3 and they were just dominating games that Guy Jiggles was like, "Oh, okay, we should probably reel it back in a little bit." Question is, why do they do BR and economy changes at the same time though? Increase BR and increase repair cost. Logical. I think they do it just because it's more efficient that way. It's more efficient on their end. Like, why should they implement both changes at the same time? Or, like, why shouldn't they implement both changes at the same time? If they're going to increase battle ratings, it only makes sense that they increase repair costs at the same time, too. Especially if they can do both at the same time. Personally, I'm still not a fan of the way that they do their algorithms. I understand that they can't collect data off of feel for most of them, because most of them simply just don't play the game as much. They're busy developing it. Which I think is all the more important why they pay people to play their game. Or, I don't know, better yet, talk to people who have a lot of experience with the game. I'm not saying everybody. I don't think that relying entirely on the community to balance the game is a good idea. Because unfortunately, a vast majority of people in War Thunder just want their favorite nation to be overpowered. Not actually balance every nation against each other. And I get it. It's a monumental task. But if I'm somebody who can take a 2-week break from the game, come back, take one look at the battle ratings, and go, okay, this is a good change, this is probably not a good change. Like, if I can do that... Oh, that was never gonna hit. Yeah, I'm not really going to get a good shot here. And I've already fired way more shots than I should have from this position, so I'm going to move. But yeah, if I can come back after 2 or 3 weeks and look at the game once and be like, okay, well that's probably a good change. That's probably not a good change. It can't be that hard. It can't be that hard for a team of people to to put effort into balancing certain aspects of the game. And these need to be people who are objective about the game and aren't trying to make one nation necessarily stronger than another. You're trying to make sure that all of these vehicles are balanced against each other, or as many of them as possible. What is that reload? It's like a 1.3 second reload, if I recall correctly. I don't know what the hell that was, but okay, yeah, he's down. Gotcha. Would I be a terrible person in saying this vehicle could probably go up to 4.0? I can't loop the shell. The shell doesn't have enough drop to hit the guy. I think it's also important to remember that I don't think any of the, or most of the Swedish vehicles at this tier are actually going to be that great. Like, I think they'll be distinctly average at low tier. Because, well, frankly, not many of them have autoloaders. It's really not until you get up into the higher tiers where you start to see more of them. Yeah, this gun definitely does not have the greatest of pen. That's going to be its biggest challenge. Oh my god. Firing from the hip, basically. I mean, so far, when I play this vehicle, most of the kills that I get are against the sides of enemy vehicles, and that's more just a case of, I don't know how that killed him, but it did. That's more just a case of the great mobility of this thing coming into its own. Whoa. What is he shooting at? Or was that even the Cromwell? He did. Saw a vehicle moving there. There's such great map design, guys. Don't you just love spawn points that have zero cover in front of them for several hundred yards? Excuse me. That was just bad shooting. That guy was going much slower, though. Guys, this vehicle is fair and balanced. Yeah, this cold air does wonders for my throat. The temperatures here have been hovering around like 10 or 12 degrees Celsius and about 40 or so, 40 plus degrees Fahrenheit. It's been a little chilly lately. Damn it. I didn't get credit for the kill. Could have been 9. Well, like I said, Foxtrot, I took a 2-week break from War Thunder, so I think I'm pretty well safe from China right now. What's my KD in this? It's pretty retarded. 16 games, 32 deaths, 107 kills. Yeah, this vehicle's fair and balanced. And I already have the Mark of Distinction. I think I got the Mark of Distinction in like 10 games. And I've got a 93% win rate. I've lost 1 game in the Sav. This vehicle is fair and balanced. Yeah, what's 107 to 32? That's a 3.34 KD. My STRV isn't actually that bad either. I've definitely played a lot more games in it though. Flash hard to use. I don't know. I think that despite the really shitty pen, the pen is more than good enough to get through the sides of most enemy vehicles, especially because it's a 120mm gun. It's far more likely to overmatch. So it's not as bouncy as you would think it is against like flat side armor. Now, if you're fighting like T-34s and so on, and they're angling properly, yeah, it could be a problem, potentially. But the fact that it's 120mm means it's going to overmatch a lot more. It's got a really large amount of HE filler, and you've got a 1.2 second reload. So you've got faster follow-up shots than any other main gun in the game. including the autoloaders, by a long shot. So you can dump all 6 rounds in about 7 or 8 seconds or so. Just like if you miss, oh, no big deal, I'll just fire again, basically. Who'd win, the Sav 40 or the M4A2? I want to say the M4. Just because I think it's got enough armor to resist this thing. We'll see. This isn't a perfect test, but it'll give us an idea. Yeah, it'll resist it. I don't know, you might be able to pen the machine gun port. Yeah, if you pen the machine gun port, you'll just decimate this thing. And you really don't have to shoot that far into the side in order to kill it. But the M4A2 definitely isn't as fast, though. That's the downside. But the M4A2 does have a stabilizer, so if it does notice the salve, it takes a lot less time to aim. And the gun is a much higher velocity, so... With the salve, you're kind of tossing a grapefruit. Which is perfectly fine. The velocity really doesn't have to be that high. Like, 525 meters per second on most of the vehicles would be bad. But because this thing has such fast follow-up shots, you can quickly adjust. It really doesn't matter if you miss one. Because it generally takes people about 2 to 5 seconds for them to react, figure out where you are. Like, from the point where they take a shot, and it, like, bounces and doesn't kill them. From the time that they figure out where that shot came from, and aim and return fire effectively, you're already on, like, your 3rd or 4th shot. Maybe even 5th, if you're having a hard time. So you really just don't have... You just don't have the time to react once you start taking fire from one of these things, especially if you're a good player. You're not going to open fire with this thing until you're in a suitable position to start the fight to begin with. So the fact that you don't have a lot of armor, the fact that you're an open-top vehicle and so on, and the fact that your gun is, like, really low velocity and doesn't have much in the way of penetration, doesn't seem to matter. It has such low figures on everything. My guess is that this vehicle was... I don't think this vehicle was ever actually intended for combat. I think this was a proof of concept. This was a case of, how big of a gun can we stick an autoloader onto this chassis? Like, is an autoloader feasible? My guess is that in real testing, if you didn't have the gun perfectly aligned with the autoloader, that they had problems with feed jams. Now, that isn't represented in War Thunder, meaning that you can point the gun down and to the left, essentially, and fire with the maximum rate of with the maximum reload speed. But what I'm pretty certain would have happened in real life is if you did that, you would have to manually bring the gun back to a loading position. Then you could load it, and I imagine the process once you were actually aligned was actually really, really, really quick, which is probably where they got this 1.2 second reload from. But in any other position, you would have had to bring it back to a loading position and then load it and then fire. I think if Guy Jiggles ever actually implements a mechanic of automatic loading, or like of a loading position into a vehicle, like after you fire the gun, actually they technically already got that. On the top tier SPAAs, especially the Roland system, once you've fired both missiles, the turret returns to a loading position and does a reload animation. They could theoretically implement that on something like this, or on like a Leopard 2 or something, in where when you fire the gun elevates to the loading position, reloads the shell, like then starts the reload, and then brings the gun back to where it was aiming. Yeah, it would really suck on the Sav as far as a nerf goes, but I think that would be way more balanced than what it's currently at. I think if it had that, it would better justify a 3.3 or a 3.7 second reload, and it's really going to depend, and how fast you fire really depends on where the gun is pointed. Because it's got to go through that animation of bringing the gun back to the loading position, then reloading, and then aiming. Does it have hull break? I don't believe so, because it has 30 millimeters of armor. But because I've taken hits in this thing and survived. But generally speaking, the way it works is, like, if you get hit here, like, the way I have my ammunition loadout set up, if you get here, you die because two of your three crew members die. If you get here, you get hit in the ammo rack. So your best bet is just not get shot at all. Can I please play the LA-7B? If you're here for me to play aircraft, you're kind of in the wrong place. I don't really play aircraft. Did the Swedish Navy use that kind of autoloader? I don't know. I crashed them in tank games, yeah. If I do play aircraft, it's like a casserole in tanks. I don't really play aircraft in War Thunder to play aircraft. If I want to play aircraft and really want to get an aircraft fit. Oh. Hi, Excelsior. IS-6, to my knowledge, does not have hull break. Personally, I think that every vehicle should be capable of dying to hull break in one degree or another. What I think it should be determined by is the gun. The gun and the ammunition being fired. Like a vehicle like and it should really depend on how the vehicle is constructed. Is it cast? Is it welded? Is it made of, like, is it made of rivets? Or, like, is it riveted together? So the way that I'm thinking of it is that hull break is more triggered by the kinetic energy and size of a shell, or the chemical energy of a shell detonating on the hull of a vehicle, to determine whether or not a vehicle hull breaks. That it would be very complex, and it would take a lot of tweaking. But personally, I think that would make a heck of a lot more sense than a vehicle having it or not. It depends a lot on, like, material strength as well. Like I said, it's not exactly a simple thing. But I think it has potential. And I suspect that the reason why Guy Jiggles uses the system it does is so that way it's a lot simpler to implement. Even if it isn't perfect. I hear a vehicle to my front. Yeah, there's a vehicle to my front. I can hear it. Yep. Okay, so he's not looking my way. Oh, wait. No. Nope. He definitely is. Crap. That's an R3. Gotcha, bitch. That could have been really bad if I missed that shot. If I had missed that shot, I definitely would have died. Where? The M4 that was here died with his turret looking that direction. Which leads me to believe that he was shot from the side. Jesus, my throat just won't clear itself. Dang it. I was afraid of that being the case, but I wasn't sure if there was anybody there. From the shockwave. Yeah, mostly what I'm annoyed by is vehicles that are like moderately armored or something like that surviving high explosive, like large high explosive shells or very, very high kinetic energy rounds. With, like, very large and very high kinetic energy rounds, like from an M103, with no consequences. That's mostly what I'm getting at. Although the more I talk through it, the more I realize how complex that would be to implement, and it would probably end up being more problematic than just, you know, the current system that we have now. And that's probably why Guy Jiggles chose not to implement it that way. I don't know. I would like it to be as realistic as possible, but I know that it's very difficult to implement something that is based on materials and so many different factors. Well, I'm more talking about something like the M103. If it hits a T-54 on the turret, it should have enough kinetic energy to essentially knock the turret off the vehicle. Or was it a T-34? I can't remember. It was one of the like they did it. The Americans did a test with the M103's gun against some sort of Soviet tank. I can't remember which one it was. And the kinetic energy from the shell was enough to blow the turret clean off the vehicle. Like the target's turret. He did not see that coming. I didn't see that one coming either. Damn it. Is that a Kampfpanzer Churchill was shooting at me? Probably. Oh, man. Our teammate doing so hot. Please leave my spawn point. Ouch. I did not see that guy at all. I looked that direction too, and I just didn't see him. Oh, well. Not much I can really do for this team. They didn't live long enough. Yeah, it would be cool to have more intricate damage models as far as like having not just having your tracks blown off and have it like constantly attached to the vehicle, but like having your entire suspension blown off or something like that, or having individual wheels destroyed. I know something like that would be hideously complex for a game this big, though, and I imagine that's probably why Guy Jiggles hasn't done much about it. And like for example, damage system more like IL-2 Sturmovik, the modern IL-2 Sturmoviks would be pretty awesome. But IL-2 Sturmovik also has a really, really low plane count, and getting that damage model right takes a lot of work, which is probably why they release so few aircraft at once, or so few vehicles in general. Yeah, I remember people kept asking them about implementing like damage to the suspension. Like if you lose a road wheel or something like that, the vehicle will start to sag to one side or something. And Guy Jiggles kept saying like, "Oh yeah, we plan to do something like that," or yeah, we would love to do that, and then nothing else. I suspect that they did some testing with it and found that it was really difficult to get right. And the prospect of them going back and adding that to every single vehicle in the game and doing it right and doing it well is just not practical at this stage. That's what I suspect happened. I don't know if that's the case at all, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. All right, let's play some Wedge. Have I played the ASU-57? No, I've never played the ASU-57 ever. Yes, of course I played it. Honestly, derpy vehicles, like really, really tiny derpy vehicles, really don't interest me all that much. The way that I don't get fun out of the game, like I don't really get a kick out of playing troll vehicles, especially at high tiers. Like, taking an AAC-57 into really high-tier games, it just doesn't do it for me. I know some people really love doing that, and that's fine. If that's the way that you enjoy playing the game, all the power to you, man. But for me, it just doesn't do anything. I kind of like playing the vehicles the way they're meant to be played. Rather than making everybody else's life awful for my enjoyment. What are my thoughts on the new BA-11 Russian scout car? Eh. It doesn't interest me. It's a low-tier Russian wheeled vehicle, like... Okay, it has a T-26 turret on it, but... Big deal. Oh, come the fuck on. You serious? Okay, good. Somebody got him. I'm rusty, to say the very minimum. I was really hoping that first or second shell would hit him. I misjudged the velocity, though. Should I go for a shell with more pen or a shell with more HE filler? Generally with more HE filler. But that really depends on the vehicle. A shell with more HE filler means that you have to be less precise with your shots. With a shell that has HE filler in it, you're just trying to pen the vehicle. Whereas with a shell without HE filler, or with a lot less, you're more dependent on penetrating a vehicle where you will do the most damage to the crew or ammo rack. And that may not always be possible. Now, shooting the same place over and over again, you can sometimes get away with it with HE filler, but you're definitely not going to get away with it with anything else. Now, he's really backing up. There we go. Somebody fired a missile from my right. From where, though? Is that him? Ah, shit. What are you? Oh, it's a leopard. Damn it. Well, not much I can do about it. Nice meme. Oof. Our team did a very good job of pushing through their point, and it looks like, yeah, the M60 behind me took care of the leopard. Okay. By the way, folks, is the stream particularly laggy? On my end, it's saying that I'm dropping frames. It may just be because I've got some of the graphics turned up a little bit. So I may need to crank them back down a little bit more. Alright, looks good. That's a vehicle I haven't played enough. I need to play more of the Rui Cat. Maybe I'll play a game after this. Quit smoking? I don't smoke. It's just especially when it gets cold. Like, when it gets especially cold or especially warm, the phlegm in my throat tends to solidify for whatever reason and just stays there. It doesn't matter how often I clear my throat, it just stays there. But not doing anything about it is even more annoying than clearing it. I don't know if anybody else has that problem. There's a piece of coal in my throat. Hell, for all I know, that may be the case. Well, that BMP is no longer an issue. Wow, our team did a lot this game, and I really didn't. I went from a team that was virtually useless to a team that made me look useless. I mean, great. Yeah, we're going to win, but I would have liked to have done a little bit more. Having an epic team that's, like, way better than you is almost as bad, in my experience, as having a team that's totally worthless. That's like what a lying smoker would say. Really? That shell shattered on that last shell shattered on impact. Nice meme. Well, I did. Fuck all this game. You know the fast money technique? Yeah, the fast money technique in this game is play well. Play vehicles you're comfortable with, play at battle ratings you're comfortable with, and play a lot. And running premium, that helps too. Literally seeing tumbleweeds here in Cali. I live in an urban. I live in not inland, but I live in an urban enough center that tumbleweeds usually aren't a problem here. The buildings tend to catch those things before they get to where I'm at. But it hasn't even necessarily been the wind. It's just been the fact that it's been so cold. Do you expect that they will fix hull aiming before the ground troop comes? God, I hope they do. I really hope they do. I suspect they're working on it. I suspect that it's a priority for them. I would be very surprised if it wasn't. But there's... Jiggles is so closed about their development, it's really difficult to tell what they're up to. Honestly, Swede, that emote looks like I'm picking my nose. Do I know what the oldest European country? Not off the top of my head, no. My first thought was Italy, but I was thinking more back to the Roman Empire, but Italy is actually very, very recent. It was only formed in the last 150 years or so. Same with Germany. I know where stuff is, but I don't necessarily know the entire history of everything that ever happened there. Blasting ABBA and Can't Help to Dance. Yeah, I mean if they don't fix the hull aiming before the Swedish tech tree goes live, it's gonna be really, really bad. Because here's the thing. The S-Tank is incredibly powerful. It's very well armored. It's got decent speed. It's not the fastest thing in the world. But it's got great armor, it's got a great gun, and has a really, really high rate of fire. The other STRVs are only going to improve its mobility, firepower, and armor. But if they are a pain to play, then a vast majority of people aren't going to be interested. And if they really want to sell this tech tree to people, if they want to get people interested in this tech tree, they will have to fix that. They will have to come up with some sort of system that smooths out the aiming. Is the Chinese premium T-62 545 worth it? I'm at 5.7 China, but I don't enjoy World War II vehicles. Yeah, I mean, like, it's a T-62. The issue that you're going to run into is the fact that the T-62 is distinctly average. It's a distinctly average vehicle in a tech tree full of, like, in a tier full of very good ones. Yes, you can make the T-62 work. I'm not saying you can't do well with it, but you're going to have to put a lot more effort in to do well with the T-62 than you would, for example, a T-55 AM1. Because while it is labeled as a Tier 6 vehicle, it's really a tier, like, it's really a low Tier 6 vehicle. It's not a, it's not a bad vehicle per se, but it's not the best vehicle by any means. So, as far as if you're looking for something to get out of the low tiers, you could do worse. Like, it's not bad. But there are some things you need to keep in mind. While it does have a stabilizer, the armor is bad. It just is. Like, the armor is bad. It's not going to help you. the reload on it is atrocious. Like, I've got a really good crew on mine, but say I go to 3.7 spam. The stock reload on this thing is 12 seconds, and at 8.3, that's pretty terrible. And even with a not a maxed out crew, but a really, really high level crew, it's still 10 and a half seconds. So you are really you're not going to be able to outshoot your opponents. You're going to pretty much rely entirely on getting the drop on them. And getting the drop on them may be difficult because 8.0 is the tier you start to encounter enemy vehicles equipped with thermal sights. And obviously this vehicle does not have thermals. It has some night vision, but night vision is rarely useful. uh, Also, the Chinese top tiers are pretty underwhelming right now. The 8.7s are okay. The TTS is fine, especially once you get it fully upgraded with M735 thermals and laser rangefinders. This the ZTZ 90 or the ZTZ 59 is okay. The problem with the ZTZ 59 is that it has a hand crank turret. Yeah, it's got a 105 millimeter gun with pretty good ammunition and thermal sights, but your turret traverse is fucking awful. And the problem that creates is that if you get into like brawly close quarter situations, the NATO tanks will just react faster. They will be able to get their gun onto you much faster than you can do the same. So this ends up being a vehicle that you want to kind of hang back and snipe with, but you really don't have any gun depression to do that. So it's a tank with an identity crisis, essentially. If this vehicle had a powered turret on it, it would actually be pretty decent. But that turret traverse really hurts you. And the ZTZ 96, while as far as 9.7 vehicles go, isn't bad. 9.7 vehicles face almost nothing but 10.7s, so you're essentially running up against Leopard 2A5s all the time. And M1A2s, and you're running into NATO vehicles all the time, and they just laugh at your armor. Like, their APFSDS rounds will just slam right through your turret front. No issues. So, honestly, I would like if you want to get the Chinese top tiers, yeah, they're okay. But honestly, I think what you would be better off doing is just grinding through the Swedish tech tree when it comes out, because it's probably going to be one of the smaller tech trees. And you'll probably spend a lot less time in World War II vehicles with the Swedish tech tree than you will with most others. Granted, though, that's really going to depend on your type of playstyle. Really, the chemical armor on the 96 is really that bad? Let me check. I want to see this. Oh my god, it can't. It's like 50-50. It's almost precisely like 50-50 whether or not it'll stop it. Wow, that's bad. That's really bad. We're seeing armor on the cheek than the XM1. like, on paper, 496 really doesn't seem that bad until you realize that there's a lot of vehicles that can pen that. Actually, how much is it against M829? Yikes, 360 is... 370 is pretty terrible. I suspect the Chinese tech tree will get better. Will actually become a lot more competitive once they start adding more vehicles to the Chinese top tier lineup. But until then, I'm not sure if I can recommend Chinese top tier. Yeah, Sweden will be really competitive, I think. Because the very minimum at top tier, they're eventually going to get the STRV 122. I don't think they'll get it this update. Because the STRV 122 is a pretty much maximum upgraded Leopard 2A5. Think of a Leopard 2A5 with the best armor package that you can put on it. And that's the Swedish Leopard 2A5. Or that's the STRV 122. Sweden is going to be a faster way to get best Leopard 2A5? Yeah, pretty much. Let's see. You know what? It wouldn't even fucking surprise me if Guy Jiggles introduced a Leopard 2A6 at the same time we got we got the STRV 122. It wouldn't even fucking surprise me. All right. I was gonna play the Rui Cat. Because I know a lot of people really, really like this vehicle. I've played it like twice or something, and I wasn't particularly impressed. But maybe that's just because I've played so many other vehicles. That the Rui Cat just seems distinctly average. I imagine if you played nothing but British, this is like a breath of fresh air. Yeah, I mean, it seems to be a decent vehicle. Had better Chinese premium MBT soon. They might, but they also may hold off on doing that for quite some time. Or if they do, because right now, every single nation only has one premium top tier, basically. The Swedes, for example, do not have a tier 6 premium. They only have the STRV 1030 at tier 5. But every other nation only has one. Now they have some rare some like event vehicles at tier 6 that are not premiums, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I think that the ZDZ96 may have actually been a really, really good candidate for a top tier premium, but I don't know. That's just me speculating off the top of my head. I really don't have enough experience fighting those things to say where they should go with certainty. I think that was aimed at me. That was definitely aimed at me. Gosh darn it. I think my issue with the Ruicat is that it's fucking huge. Like, this is a really big vehicle. Is it a 9.0? No, it's an 8.3. What's bumping me up? Oh, my Mark 10. Whoops. Probably should have taken that out. Discount Centauro? Yeah, with better ammo. The ammo is definitely better. But you lose thermals for it. The Centauro does at least get thermals. Shit. Also, because it's a wheeled vehicle, its cross-country mobility is definitely worse than a tracked vehicle. Despite having the highest top speed in the game, like, having a really high top speed usually doesn't matter unless you've got the power-to-weight ratio to really get there. He's dead. Oh, that's not good. Woo! Alright, I got lucky there. I got lucky there that that pilot was a terrible shot. Oh, hello. Somebody called in artillery there. Light vehicles and artillery don't mix well, so I'm leaving. They damaged my my target. Are they gonna kill him? Yes, they got him. Nice. Oh, nice. We got a Challenger covering this side. Cool. Apparently not particularly well. Oh shit, there was a 2A4? Where was the 2A4? Oh, in the middle of the map. Okay.
Most of the strategic zones are captured.
I did not play very particularly well there. Also, if I recall correctly, the Ruicat is really inaccurate. Like the gun has really high dispersion because it's the same ammunition as the automatic. And the auto has really, really high dispersion on its shells, so it didn't seem to affect it. That dispersion really didn't seem to be affected when I killed the T-80 or whatever it was. But if I recall correctly, then shooting at long range can be difficult with the Ruicat. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of USSR top tier. And by extension, I'm not really a fan of Chinese top tier either. I'm just not a fan of the Soviet tank design. I don't really like the aesthetics, and I don't really like the fact that all of the modules are so compacted. Oh. Steel counter. Yeah, I don't like the fact that all the modules are so compacted.
Enemy forces have captured a zone.
Yeah, he's a little far. Man, it's just my luck today.
Attention to the map.
I am not doing great.
Forces have captured a zone.
That's the Vickers. I feel like that should have hit him. This radar doesn't... This radar doesn't make much distinction between enemy contacts and friendly radar contacts. God, I really wish we had airburst beehive ammunition for the Orlikin 35s. Do you mind? Well, doesn't look like today was... Oh my goodness, rip that guy. Am I feeling well? I feel fine outside of the fact that my throat is just clogged up today. I don't know what's up with that. We'll play another game in the Ruby Cat. Am Reason why that decal isn't displayed on both sides? Okay. Alrighty. Oh, yes. Thanks for reminding me, Mania. Really? Is there nothing that I can put here? There's no way. I'll throw in the AVRE just for the memes. I don't think I will like playing the door wedge that much. The doorstop is... It's a very defensive tank. Like, if you thought the British were defensive, the Swedes take it to a whole new level. If you are not if you're not an aggressive player, or like if you're an aggressive player who likes brawling a lot, the doorstops are going to be total opposites to that. They are well armored, decently mobile snipers. That's really what they are. If you are not a fan of campy gameplay or passive gameplay, you will not likely enjoy the doorstops. Okay, let's not go that way. That guy drove 2 feet out of the spawn and got wrecked. The problem with being fast to the light is that you always live in darkness. God, I really just don't have a great place to put myself, do I?
Allied forces have captured a zone.
This is what I mean by terrible performance across this kind of terrain. Pretty certain I can beat his reload? He backed off.
Enemy forces have captured a zone.
Is that 800? We'll do 900. Woo! He's already been scouted. Oh, that's a doorstop. Ow. I didn't really recognize him, but yeah, that's a doorstop, all right. Okay. He's definitely not doing so good. Unfortunately for him, I have the one ammunition type that just kind of ignores him. That just kind of ignores everything that... all of his advantages. This is a really terrible map for this vehicle. I really want to, I really want to just go, like, hull down and snipe. But... really don't have the armor for it. Killed his loader. Alright, what's shooting at me now? Another MBT of some kind. I think it's an M47? No, it's a Leopard. And he's already aimed on that point, so I'm not... It looks like there's 2 tanks right there. Yeah, there is another tank right there. That looks like an M47 to me. Or an M41 Walker Bulldog, I can't tell. Yeah, that's gotta be an M47. Okay, those guys are down. That gives me the possibility to move. Oh shit, never mind. Well, fuck. That's where the BMP went. I was wondering where he went, but... Okay, looks like he's dead now. I just haven't had great luck with the recat. I'm not entirely certain why that is. Because this vehicle does a lot of things right for me. I just haven't had great luck. Well, he definitely needed that. Kind of hoping I'd do more damage than that, but... Oh. Whoopsies. I can't tell, but I think the leopard went away. That's where the BMP shot me from. Crap. I was hoping that would get him. Oof. That's a building. I don't like that. I keep moving. Okay. I probably should have shot the leopard behind him. Oh, fuck this. That lamppost is in the way and blocking my camera right when I need it. I'll look around the corner. I can't tell if that leopard is looking there. I think he is, but I don't know. Well, he was there, and then he backed off. What is this range? 375? Let's do 450. That should account for some dispersion. That leopard hasn't come back yet. I wonder if he backed off and just went somewhere else. Got the STB's ability to fire. Shit, there he is. Haha! You don't need that cannon barrel either. Man, I am just the bane of cannon barrels and breaches today. It's breach and barrel torture 101. Oh, somebody else got him. And that's a BMP too! I don't want to fuck with that. Oh, hi. Ah! I'd appreciate it if this guy helped me out. Oh, fucking probably gonna die. No, no, no. Fuck! I don't know where my round went. I think I had a ghost shell there. Either that or he took out my cannon breach. God damn it, Shot Cow! Gersh Dermot! You had one job. The only variant of the LAV that I care about is the variant that had the 75mm Ares gun system. Which was designed to be an anti-tank, anti-aircraft gun. Basically, think of a 75mm automatic. And it was originally put on the high mag test vehicle, which had a horsepower to ton ratio of like a power to weight ratio of like 60. Like it was just stupid fast. What line would you advise me to grind first to go down the Soviet tech tree? None of them. I recommend the Soviet tech tree for people who are just starting out. And then I recommend you go up to about like tier 3 or so. And then I recommend kind of switching, and I also recommend switching over to a different tech tree after that. Because really, the Soviet top tiers are not really my thing. I think that for all of their meme advantage, like for all of their memes that they have at low tiers that make them good, they lose a lot of that when they go to high tiers. Like from the T-44 onward, their MBTs and heavy tanks are just like meh. They have great potential, but with all of the APFSDS flying around, they really don't tend to do all that well. And their modules are so compacted. Their modules are so compacted that if you take a penetrating hit, you're generally either dead or crippled. It's one of the two. And you're going to be taking a lot of penetrating hits, so also your mobility suffers by quite a large margin. Yeah, and the emergency turret ejection system doesn't help. So it's like, hooray! I have a T-80U. I'm fast. I've got great armor, except for the fact that you've got a crap ton of weak points. You've got the lower plate, which is a huge weak point. You've got the driver's hatch, which is a huge weak point. You've got you've only got 2 crew members. You don't have any armor around the cannon breech. Not that any vehicle at that tier really does, but you've got a lot of weak points from the front for all of this heavy armor. And they're not difficult to hit weak points either. So if you take a penetrating hit through the driver's hatch, it'll generally kill the driver. And if it doesn't somehow set off any of the ammo here, it'll go back and take out the engine too. It'll likely also damage the cannon breech because it's a huge cannon breech. And if it goes really any lower, like if it hits right about here, it's pretty much guaranteed to hit the ammunition behind it. So, and if somebody gets even a remote side shot on you, like even at an angle like this, the side armor really isn't that thick, and APFSDS rounds just laugh at 200mm. And of course, if you get hit there, ammo! And then you explode. Like, if you're really into the Soviets, like you're really into their tank design, you really enjoy it, great, go down it. And And enjoy it while you can, because it's like, once you get to this tier, the NATO vehicles really start showing how good they are. So, personally, like if I had to, if there was a tech tree that I would recommend people go down, it's the Italian tech tree. I think more people should play the Italians. If you can get past their awful World War II grind, and get into like their Cold War stuff, their Cold War stuff is hilarious. Especially their AA. The Italian anti-aircraft tech tree, in my personal opinion, is better than any other tech tree in the game. By a fair margin, too. Um, I've played these three Arietes. I've had them as rentals at various points. And the Ariete, while it isn't the top tier competitive vehicle, it's not bad. Like, it's not great, but it's not bad either. I would take a C1 over. I'll take any of the Arietes over any of the Russian MBTs. Isn't the first 040 a bit lackluster? If I recall correctly, yes. It doesn't have a stabilizer. Or does it? Let me test drive it. I don't think it does. The Centauro is very, very good. As it's it's one of the first vehicles in the game that gets thermals. Yeah, it does not have a stabilizer. It's basically a Leopard 1. It technically has better armor than a Leopard 1, but the armor is so thin that it really doesn't matter. Right, I realize most 7.7s don't have a stabilizer. The M47 105 is kind of interesting. I haven't played it enough to really say like how good it is, but it's an M47 with a better gun. So, or with an arguably better gun. I'll put it that way. Arguably better. Although technically speaking, this gun should have, because these guns are because this gun is an L55, it should have better performance, although I don't think that's actually modeled. Like, slightly better performance. The OF40 Mark II is actually pretty solid. Because it's the first OF40 that gets a stabilizer and it gets APFSDS. So this is equivalent to an A1A1. Or Leopard A1A1. The Romor, I would recommend more if it wasn't 9.3. It's a good, solid backup tank destroyer and scout for the for Italian top tiers. However, it does have one massive downside that really hurts it, because you get this ERA attached to the vehicle. You lose your smoke grenade launchers. On the standard Centauro, your smoke grenade launchers are on your turret cheeks, or they're or on the sides of the turret. But because of the Romor ERA, you lose these smoke grenades, which is a big problem if you get into trouble. You can't pop smoke and run away like you can with a standard Centauro. That being said, you get the R3 at 3.7, and that'll last you a majority of the tech tree, and then you get the Saddam 25, which is arguably the best point defense SPAA in the game, because this vehicle also has the highest turret rotation speed of any vehicle in the game. I think when you have it fully upgraded, the turret will rotate at like 120 degrees per second. Actually, did I have a... I do actually have a gold crew. Yeah. All right, the turret rotation speed should be higher, unless they nerfed it. Got the horizontal drive. Maybe they nerfed it. Hold on. Gunner targeting. Yeah, 120 degrees per second. It's not saying it on the stat card, but it is saying it in the crew. The downside with it, though, is that while it does get a targeting radar, it's a optical targeting. It's an optical targeting system, so it's kind of limited in what it'll lock and stay locked onto. Come on, there we go. And it's got a pretty limited range. But if somebody's flying past you at near Mach 1, like, you can get this turret swung around heckin' fast. Upgrade hurts. Well, yeah, but you're also working with 30mm cannons, so going and hunting tanks with a vehicle like this is not your job. This vehicle is excellent for point defense. By point defense, I mean very, very short range, very close range, like low altitude engagements. The Saddam is excellent for that. Then you have the automatic, which is the complete opposite. It's like the automatic will knock an aircraft down at like a 10-kilometer range. I've played this vehicle a lot on stream. It's very powerful. And it just got bumped to 10.0, which makes me sad. And then you have the Mistral. Honestly, I think what they should have done is had the Mistral and the automatic swap places in the tech tree, especially now that they're the same battle rating. I think it makes a lot more sense to go from a Saddam to another Saddam, but with missiles, than Saddam automatic Saddam. Personally, because I think that all of the top rank vehicles, or the top rank SPAAs, regardless if they're missiles or not, should be the long range SPAAs, like the stuff that can hit helicopters hovering at like 10 kilometers out. Because functionally speaking, an automatic is actually a better SPAA in most situations than the Saddam 25 Mistral. The difference with the Mistral is obviously that it has missiles, but they're not SAC-LOS missiles. They're not optically guided missiles like an ATGM. They're actual lock-on, fire and forget, basically. So the downside with the Mistrals is that, well, they're man pads, so they have a pretty limited lock-on range. Like, you're limited to about 5 kilometers. But the Mistrals, once you do launch them, unless they have flares, good luck breaking the lock. They are very difficult to evade. Flares for planes win. We get planes who had flares? I don't know. There's a lot. Well, I do know, but there's a lot of them, and I'm not going to name them all right now. Does the Roland have fire and forget? No. The Roland and both the Roland of all types are both SAC-LOS designs. You can use the Saddam against tanks if you have the APDS belt loaded. It's actually pretty decent against tanks with the APDS belt, but you only get 60 rounds, and that's like like 2 or 3 seconds maximum of fire. So I have to sit here and guide the missile onto the target. Now it is an airburst missile at the very minimum. I don't know where the fuck that one went. But yeah, if you want to reload it, you have to bring this vehicle back to a loading position like this, and then it will reload the missiles. It's pretty cool to look at, but it takes time. So you've got 2 shots, and then you got to reload. Wow, I totally missed that. Really? Wow. Am I just that bad of a shot? I guess so. Are we going to reload here? It's a bit clunky. It works, but it's a bit clunky. There we go. So, I'm noticing the missiles have a tendency to kind of wander. Like, they tend to, like, overshoot and then come back. And be quick. I have Roland, but I have no idea how to kill helis who are 5 kilometers away. You point at them and guide the missile onto them until they die. It's not that difficult, actually. It's more just a matter of getting the missile within airburst range. I don't know what the airburst with the trigger rate. Okay, 6. You have to get it within 6 meters of a target with Roland 1 and yeah, Roland 3 also. But Roland 3 also has a much bigger explosive charge. Or not a... Is it a much bigger? Yeah. Yeah, it's like a 5.8 kilogram TNT explosive charge as opposed to 4.3 kilogram. And it technically has a little bit more penetration, but... Moves and dodges. Well, yeah, I mean, you would expect them to dodge if they see it coming. Usually, something to keep in mind, by the way, confused lad, is that if you lock onto them with your targeting radar, they get a ping. Like, they get a warning on their RWR that says, somebody is locked onto you. If you really want to surprise a helicopter that's, like, paying attention guiding a missile, don't lock onto them, just use the gun sight. Well, yeah, the best way to counter a missile attack if people are firing missiles at you is to put a round in their direction, because they might flinch and miss the target. Yeah, absolutely. I was noticing that too in the test drive. If I wanted to reset, if I wanted to reload, and the missile was still flying, it wouldn't let me. I don't know if it's actually a bug. I think they may actually intend for that to be the case. Because I remember it used to be, if you fired the missile and then didn't, if you fired the missile, like your last missile, the vehicle would automatically start reloading and you would lose track of the missile. I think the way that they have it set up right now is if you fire the last missile, it's not going to allow you to reload the vehicle until you basically guide the missile into the ground or lose track. and then it will force you to, and then it'll allow you to reload the missile thing. All right, Diesel Rook, have a good one. What tree suits me more in terms of playstyle? Are you talking to me, or are you talking to somebody in the chat? Going on with the Cole K50 heli fiasco? The problem with the K50 is that it outranges the only vehicle the K50 does not outrange is an ADATS. And that is the most powerful missile system in the game. For good reason. Also, that's floating in midair. Nice. Yeah, the K50 has like a 10-kilometer range, as does the ADATS. And the missiles on it are dual purpose. So they have an airburst fuse like for use against flying aircraft. So you don't have to hit people with the missile, you just have to get it close to them, and it will detonate and kill them. And it's got a really good anti-tank fuse, so you can use it against top-tier tanks. On top of that, there's a system that Guy Jiggles introduced with the K50, where you can lock onto a target, and then fire, and then the missile will guide onto that, like laser designate a target, and the missile will fly to the laser designation. That isn't a problem on vehicles like an Mi-28 or an AH-1Z, where you have a gunner and a pilot. But the K-50 only has one crew member. The pilot is also the gunner, meaning that if you lock somebody in your gun sight mode, and I'll demonstrate this, you can just basically go back into the cockpit view, point the helicopter in the direction of the target, and press space and do a fire and forget missile. Now, you can't turn the helicopter away. You do have to keep the helicopter generally pointed at the target, but you can fly and evade while the missile will generally stay on target. The only thing the K-50 doesn't have is thermals. If it had thermals, it would be ridiculously overpowered. Like, it's already bad, but it would make it ludicrously overpowered. So, yeah, also, if you hear that pinging noise, once this guy stops talking. I don't know if you guys can hear that pinging, but if you look in the bottom right where my mouse cursor is, that means a radar has locked onto me. So if you want to take a helicopter by surprise, like a heli player by surprise, then don't lock onto him, and he won't get that warning. And he won't know that there's somebody out there. So I've locked onto him, and now I can just fire a missile and kind of look away, and the missile will go and do its own thing. Or I can fly, and I can do all sorts of crazy shit. And I can do this from 10 kilometers out. Like, projectiles don't even render at that distance. For the person shooting them. So, that's the major issue that people have with it. The fact that it has a better missile than any other helicopter out there, and the only counter to it is basically the most overpowered vehicle in the game. So, that's the real issue. Now, it's not like the K-50 doesn't have counters. Aircraft can kill it pretty easily as long as you don't fly directly into its missile. That's the other thing. If you're locked on, if you're designated, like if somebody is locked onto you with the laser designator, there's no warning either. So this heli player could have locked you, fired a missile, turned in, moved positions, and killed you, and you would have no idea that a missile is flying your way until the very last second. And it's especially bad with aircraft. You're just flying along and all of a sudden you blow up because you got hit with a missile. Because there's no RWR warning against like a laser designation. The H1Z is potentially better because it has those Hellfires that top attack. But I've found that especially against moving targets, they're really wonky. Like, they aren't consistent. Why does Gaijin hate World War II now? I don't think it's the fact that they hate World War II now. Keep in mind, Andrew, that War Thunder was never only a World War II game. At no point in time did there only ever exist World War II vehicles. From day one, they had Korean War era vehicles. Personally, I don't see much of a problem with introducing more modern stuff. I really don't. The issue is how they balance them. And as far as World War II vehicles are concerned, the reason you don't see as many World War II vehicles coming out is because a vast majority of the World War II vehicles that we can already see are in the game. It's not that there aren't more World War II vehicles out there that they can introduce, it's just that the way that they're introducing them now is generally through other tech trees. Most of the World War II stuff we haven't seen yet is in other tech trees, or it's like experimental stuff. And Gaijin is weird about experimental stuff. Yes, they will introduce them, but generally they try to introduce them as premiums, and they don't want to introduce too many premiums because, well, when you start to have more premiums than you do tech tree vehicles or similar amounts, it starts to become a problem. Don't return to update old tech trees? My question is, what is there to update? Like, outside of models? Which, by the way, Gaijin doesn't model vehicles anymore. Gaijin has not modeled a single vehicle in-house, as far as we know, since the Japanese ground forces. All of their modeling for all of their vehicles that we've seen since Japanese ground forces, and probably before that, are outsourced. They basically pay modelers at a different company to make the models for them, take the models in, program in all the statistics and their performances, and then put them in the game. And there's a hell of a lot more to do. And there's a hell of a lot more to do with modern vehicles than there are with World War II stuff. It's not saying they can't add some. There's always a vehicle here or there that they can add, but we're not likely to see an entirely new line of German tank destroyers, you know what I mean? Or a new line of light tanks or maybe light tanks for the Germans. That's one thing they probably could add. We're not likely to see a brand new tech tree of heavy tanks for the Germans, or a brand new tank destroyer line for the Americans. We'll see vehicles here and there. But it's not that they don't care about World War II stuff, it's that a vast majority of what's there to add has already been added. In addition, you can't tell me there's not enough World War II stuff, because there are literally, how many tech trees now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we don't count China because it's copy-paste, we'll have 6 or 7 tech trees worth of World War II stuff. Up to tier 4 and a little bit in 5. Like, you can't tell me that there isn't a majority of World War II stuff in the game. It's not like there's a lacking of stuff to play. So, the fact that they're focusing on fleshing out top tiers, which, by the way, desperately need it, is not surprising. And I think it makes a lot of sense. So the fact that they don't only focus on one era at all. It's just that there's a lot of shit to play already. And they are pretty much they're satisfied that a majority of those tech trees, of those World War II tech trees, are pretty well fleshed out. And there's a lot of stuff for people to play around with. And they'll add in new stuff every now and then, but a majority of their focus is going to be balancing and filling out the top tech tree stuff, because there's a lot that they can add, especially in infantry fighting vehicles and AFVs. Like, there's hundreds of variants, thousands of variants that they can add to just that category alone in Cold War. So this idea that they don't care about World War II is just false. It's been a while since I've been on, but I've kept this going strong. Appreciate it, Red Tip. Thanks for the 16 months, man. Grand International Tech Tree that would cover so much of the nations that have only a couple tanks that can't make a solo tree by themselves. I don't think Gaijin wants to do an international tech tree, because how the hell do you balance that? It'd be very difficult to, like, and there are plenty of nations that have very different affiliations. Because here's the thing, if you take a couple of the best vehicles from a bunch of miscellaneous nations and put them together, think about how powerful that's going to be. Like, every nation has, like, those shitty vehicles that nobody wants to play because they're bad. I can't see that many bad vehicles going into an international tech tree, because everybody's going to want to cherry pick the best vehicles from every small little nation. Or the best ideas from every small little nation. I doubt that many people are going to be interested in the really shitty vehicles. Just saying. I would like to see an international tech tree just for variety purposes, but I don't think, to play the devil's advocate here, I don't think it's that simple. What I think they should more keep doing is adding in various miscellaneous nations' vehicles to other tech trees. Or, if they're going to have a tech tree, make it like a sub-tree. Like, have it, like, at a certain tier, branch off. Or once you get to a certain tier in a certain nation, the tech tree, like, you unlock that tech tree. I think that would be a great idea for the Israelis. Kind of like how they have with helicopters. When you get to rank 5, you unlock the helicopter tech tree. I think that, like, either tanks or aircraft. I think this would be a cool idea to apply. This would be a great idea to apply to various miscellaneous tech trees. So, in general, it's not that Guy Jiggles doesn't care about World War II stuff anymore. It's just not the priority. It's in a good place right now, it's in a good enough place. That's the best way I could put it. It's in a good enough place that Guy Jiggles feels they can focus on fleshing out other tech trees. And we're not even talking about naval here. Like, this is just top-tier ground forces and air forces. Like, naval is constantly developing as well. Naval is going to change a lot within the next year, as far as metas and ships being added and so on. Like, naval is just starting to hit its stride, I think. Like, it's just starting to become popular, I think. Red Tip, there was a battle rating update that changed a bunch of battle ratings. I went over it earlier. I think my voice is starting to give out, so I don't think I'll go into it now. Yeah, and I think it's really funny that people got pissed off that the Chinese tech tree was added, when people have been asking for that for the longest time, and Guy Jiggles for the very longest time was like, there really isn't much difference between it and other tech trees. And everyone was like, oh, but we want it anyways. Or people was like, oh, we want it anyways. And the guns was like, fine, okay, here you go. Here's a copy paste. Honestly, I think that all of these vehicles could have just been added as event vehicles. They really could have. There was really no reason to have a Chinese tech tree. What I think they could have done is they could have just added the like the Chinese top tier vehicles and like the Chinese light vehicles as events, and it would have been fine. Brad, thanks for the 2 months in a row. Appreciate it. Or 4 months, technically. What do we want to do? Yeah, asking you shall receive. Now, I know that a lot of people say that Gaijin just doesn't listen to feedback and doesn't care. They do. Whether or not they actually act on that feedback in the way that people want them to is a different matter. And people, I know there's a lot of people out there who just think that I'm a Gaijin shill and will be apologetic for Gaijin at every twist and turn. It's not that I'm apologetic for Gaijin at every twist and turn, it's just I'm trying to understand their thought process as well as our own. There are two sides to every story, and people only ever seem to want to perpetuate the side that they are on. Call me a contrarian, but there's more to it than just Gaijin bad. And Gaijin is not perfect by any means. They make stupid mistakes all the time. And every time they seem to take a step forward, they shoot themselves in the foot, whether they intend to or not. I just think the whole Gaijin bad because Gaijin bad is just stupid. There's plenty of reasons to be mad at Gaijin, but I think it's important that we understand their perspective as well before we make our arguments. If you want to actually have a real productive discussion with Gaijin, understand their viewpoint. And then present a solution. Oh boy. Okay, so it shows up there, just not in the hangar. Oh, that's so weird. I want to enjoy 6.7 Brits and Germans. Playing either just makes me want to kill myself? Why? Those are both really good tiers. Oh. I can't understand people who want to play top tier Russia either, so I guess I shouldn't be too judgmental. Probably should have gone over here, fuck. Why am I the only one going middle? Okay, there's one guy following me. That doesn't exactly fill me with confidence. I'm really just hoping I don't get shot in the side. Kai, thanks for the host. That is an Object 120. Oh. I hope that whoever's over there doesn't see me. Nice maim game. Ouch. Even with his machine guns, he just took out 2 of my crew members. Damn it. Okay, well, they killed the OF-40. IS-7 is destroyed. They got him. Oh shit, there's a lot of enemies here. We are getting overrun. This is not good. Oh, he's dead.
Another zone captured. We have the advantage.
I'm gonna try and get a crew member back. Oh shit, this was a bad idea. Oh shit, I hope I'm not in the middle of the artillery strike. I think I'm on the outer fringe of it. Okay, we're good. Oh my god, I got adamant in this thing. Alright. Got a loader back, so my reload isn't fucking terrible. Our team has done a good job of keeping them off this point. Not seeing anything out there. I'll let this STB-1 go out and take a peek. Somebody killed the Falcon. That guy. Oh my god, his gunner though. He's down. Okay. I think I understand why people enjoy this tank. Because it's exciting, it's potentially very exciting to play. And I can see how if you've been playing nothing but Britain the entire time and you get your hands on this thing, that it's really different and really nice to have in addition to your standard British passivity. I don't know, man. It's this vehicle may be too exciting for me. Crap. Really? Are you kidding me? Yeah, I'm not a fan of this gun. If this thing had a much faster reload, I think I would like this vehicle a lot more, but the 7.7 reload is rough, man. Alright, have a good one, Daniel. The smoke screen. Honestly, they need to redo the quick a lot of the quick commands in general, because a vast majority of them really aren't useful. Especially in ground forces. Like, why do I have return to base? Or leading for landing at, like, also, nobody says leading for landing in English. Nobody. That, to me, looks like just a really, like somebody in Russian plop the phrase leading for landing into a Google Translate and just pop that out, and then they just slapped it in. Nobody says leading for landing. Well, yeah, attack the D point is extremely useful. Everybody can agree there. But, like, why do I have aircraft commands here when we also have tank commands? Like, these are useful, but also their translations of negative are very different. Negative and never are very different things in the English language. They are not the same. Oh yeah, Gramercy. That was a word that I didn't even realize was part of the English language until I played War Thunder. Nobody says Gramercy. Not anymore. At least not in 100 years. Okay, maybe back during World War II they may have said it. But today, nobody I know ever says Gramercy. You're welcome as a command? Yes, you're welcome would be great. Like something as a response outside of affirmative. Because affirmative is kind of a shitty response. Thank you? Great. But yeah, the localization and the translations of a lot of these quick commands really need some work. And I imagine it's probably the same in a lot of other languages. Like a lot of the European languages, I imagine the translations are a bit wonky. I don't know what good examples there are of those, but uh what time is it? 12:24, so I think what I'll do is I'll play one more game here, and then I'm going to go ahead and call the stream. So I got to go get ready for work here. What's up with my hanger? I'm using a custom hanger. I use a custom hanger like this because it's really easy to make thumbnails out of. So. And personally, I don't really care about whatever environment they're in. I just want to see the vehicles themselves. I'm going to play 6.7 Germany. Oh. Yeah, I mean, I imagine we'll get Epic Thunder Sound Mod before the end of the year, or at least versions of it. Now that they finally added in the ability to make custom sound mods. Uh, it's not that I've never played AirRB Redstone. I played AirRB for a very long time before tanks came out. It's just that I have no need to play AirRB. Like, I've got most of the aircraft that I really want. And if I really want to have an aircraft fix and have a good time, I don't need to play War Thunder for that. I've got several really awesome flight sims. I've got a HOTAS joystick and Track IR. So I have no need for War Thunder to get that fix. And as far as playing games go, as far as games go, War Thunder isn't bad. Oh, what the hell was that pen? War Thunder isn't bad, but it isn't great either. Like, it's not a flight sim. And I'm more interested, if I'm going to be flying an aircraft, I'm more interested in a flight sim than I am in flight games. So, like, when people say you should go play this aircraft, it doesn't interest me. The likelihood is that aircraft is already in, like, IL-2 Sturmovik 1946 in one of the mods. Oof. German, best tank in the game. Okay, I guess we're playing the Jagdtiger. I'll spawn back here. Almost all of my planes that I have in War Thunder were from before tanks came out. Like, if you look at my American tech tree, it virtually hasn't changed since before tanks came out. And almost all of the aircraft I don't have in that tech tree were added post tanks. So there's like a bunch of aircraft that I'm missing that are just in the middle of my tree because I just don't play aircraft. War Thunder aircraft just isn't interesting to me. I think that's like... So, like, 1,400? What is this guy doing? He's just looking at me. He can't spot me. He's a heavy tank. Of course, I hit him right on the gun mantlet where his armor is the thickest it possibly can be. He's trying to hit my gun barrel, I think. I don't know what he is thinking. Oh, he moved. What is this guy doing? Oh, he's taking fire from the Yak 9.
Attention to the map.
He can't move now. Rip. It's so satisfying when you get a kill with a Jagdtiger, I will admit. I don't exactly have great accuracy in this thing, so when I do kill somebody, it's really quite nice.
Allied forces have captured a zone. The victory is near.
Okay, that M18 is dead. The funniest way to play the Jagdtiger, though, is to play it as a super heavy assault gun. It's terrible at it, I know. And it's not what this vehicle was designed for in any shape or form. But when it works, it's pretty hilarious. Because people just don't expect folks don't expect to bring a others to bring in a Jagdtiger into close combat. Most of the time it ends badly, but when it works, it's hilarious. This is one of the few exceptions to my play vehicles as they are meant to be played rule. Really?
Enemy forces have captured a zone.
God damn it! Really?
Attention to the designated grid zone.
Why is there an M41 Walker Bulldog back here? Actually, why isn't there more M41 Walker Bulldogs back here? Ah, he's really making a mess of trying to kill me, is he? Come on, finish me off. Take your damn time. Oh, did they get him? Yeah, they got him. Something tells me that he got a lucky penetration, and the angle that I was at was just too much. I think he was using a P2. I don't think he was using APDS. If he was using APDS, he would have gone right through me. At least my team was on the ball this time. I certainly wasn't. T-25 killed the RU, huh? I wonder if the T-25 killed him from across the map, or if he killed him from behind or something. I guess we'll find out soon. I think I saw tracers coming up. What the heck? Okay, somebody's capping B. Whoever they are sticking very close to the buildings over here. Or they've gone down, like, really low to the water where I can't see them. They're just decapped. Uh-oh. We're good. Although that wounded my crew members. Allied Cass is a bitch, man. Oh! Alright, we're good. If that was a 1,000 pounder, that would have killed me. And they got that they got that M18 as well. I'm gonna go and try and cap C. Yeah, there was the T25 up there. I just couldn't see him because he's in the bushes. That, what the fuck? Oh, that M18 is shooting at him. Oh, rip. That's the M41, I think. No. That was the Jumbo Sherman that killed me. I'm probably gonna die. I'm probably gonna die. Please don't look this way. Some giant fucking target. I really hope nobody's looking over here. Whoa, that P-47 is really low. He crashed. And the M18 got credit for the kill, too. Nice. That was definitely a skill counter right there, boys. Should I buy M46 Tiger or Centurion Action 10? I'm more of a Centurion Action 10 guy, but the M46 Tiger will probably suit you better as far as the American tech tree is concerned. It's really a more matter of do you want to grind to a kind of crappy top tier, or do you want to grind to one of the best top tiers? Personally, I would say M46 Tiger, even though I'm not a fan of the M46 Tiger. I would say get a T29. Or the M26E1. Personally. Wow, there really isn't that many of these guys left, are there? Oh well, I'll just cap the point here and hang out. I'll get a crew member back. Help out my loaders a little bit. Okay, I was gonna say, how is that guy still fucking flying? I can't shoot across to A. Oh, hello. Oh, they got him. Oh, that's game. That was fucking boring. I don't know. I take my Yag tier just because I like it. I like its aesthetics. Not because it's necessarily competitive. If I really wanted to be competitive, I would just drop the Yag Tiger altogether. I would drop the Yag Tiger and throw in my standard King Tiger into that slot. Okay, fellas, I think I'm gonna go ahead and call it there. Thanks to everybody who showed up today. That was a lot of fun. Is the Premium Tiger 2 worth it? Yes. It's just a better King Tiger. You get a King Tiger with an extra 50 horsepower and a better transmission, and then extra side armor and a roof-mounted machine gun. So yeah, it's worth it. Anyways, thank you guys, and I will see all of y'all in the next stream whenever that is. I don't know if it'll be this week or whenever I'm available to do it next. Instead of streaming, I'm probably going to focus on working on the Unicorn review because I really got to get that done. Anyways, thank you guys, and I'll talk to you all later.